on social media. Half cheered him for choosing his own path, half accused him of abandoning tradition. And somewhere in the middle, PGA Tour officials reportedly labeled the decision a snub, a word Sky Sports didn't hesitate to print. Momentum shifted instantly, and once again, the PGA LIV fracture was back under a spotlight it hoped had faded. But here's where everything gets even crazier. This isn't just another player switching tours. This isn't about money, contracts, or who offers better range snacks. This is Lauri Canter rejecting the traditional dream route, the path golfers spend their whole lives chasing. He finally reached the summit, and then chose a different mountain altogether. And now the only question echoing across the sport is this: what made him walk away after finally earning the golden ticket? Because whatever the answer is, it's about to shake everything that comes next. Lauri Canter didn't just wake up one morning and flip a coin between the PGA Tour and LIV Golf. According to the Express and Golf Monthly, the Majestic's GC camp had been circling him for months, quietly making it clear they not only wanted him back, they wanted him fully locked in for their 2026 rebuild. Loyalty wasn't just a theme here, see, it was the whole pitch. For a player who'd spent years grinding for chances, being chosen hit different, and that kind of validation can move mountains in a golfer's heart. But LIV wasn't offering a handshake and a hope. They were offering guaranteed opportunity, a set role, a full-time roster spot, and a structure Canter had already experienced in previous seasons. Unlike the uncertainty he faced as a reserve, this return came with clarity, purpose, and stability. LIV's revamped 2026 plan promised even more: a stronger schedule, clearer pathways, and a team system that actually meant something. For a guy whose career surged whenever he knew his job, that was impossible to ignore. And here's the pressure part nobody talks about. When Canter entered LIV as a substitute before, he had to fight for every tee time, every slot, every weekend. Now, Majestics wanted him as a foundational piece, a full roster athlete with a real identity inside the squad. That's a very different type of weight. It wasn't pressure to survive. It was pressure to lead. And that kind of challenge can pull a competitor right back into the fire. Meanwhile, the PGA Tour card he earned wasn't some casual invite. In the AP and Golf Channel reporting, Canter said he was grateful for the moment. He knew the value. He respected the grind, and he understood the privilege attached to a card players devote entire careers to chasing. But deep down, he admitted his future didn't sit on that side of the fence. Because sometimes the path you're supposed to follow isn't the one your instincts want anymore. And that's where the emotional conflict hits hardest. Turning down the PGA Tour isn't just changing tours, it's rejecting decades of tradition, prestige, and the storybook route nearly every pro grows up dreaming about. In the end, comfort, clarity, and loyalty outweighed prestige. But that's only half the story, because the real shock wasn't the decision, it was the ripple effect. The moment Lauri Canter's decision hit the newswire, analysts didn't waste a second. Sky Sports framed it bluntly: a worrying sign for the PGA Tour, a move that raised serious questions about player retention at the worst possible time. Reuters echoed the same alarm. If golfers are willing to walk away after earning a PGA Tour card, the PGA's grip on its rising stars may be weaker than anyone thought. And just like that, the quiet tension between the tours roared back to life. Critics didn't hesitate to call this bad for the PGA Tour, and not in a subtle way. Losing a player who just secured his card strengthens the narrative that the PGA can't hold on to talent once LIV shows up with structure, stability, and a clear role. This wasn't a superstar defecting. This was a working-class grinder choosing guaranteed opportunity over tradition. And if the grinders start leaving too, that's a problem the PGA can't spin away. Because when the foundation cracks, the whole building feels it. What made this even worse was the timing. The PGA and LIV have been stuck in fragile, slow-moving unification talks that already feel like they're held together by golf tape and wishful thinking. A move like this? It deepens the divide. It signals LIV is gaining quiet momentum again, and every new signing makes the negotiating table just a little more unstable. Suddenly, unity feels farther away than ever. Meanwhile, fans went straight into battle mode online. Half of them praised Canter for chasing a future that made sense for him, the same way supporters rallied behind Bryson or Cameron Smith. The other half, they weren't so forgiving. Some called it a betrayal of the traditional ladder, the same ladder countless players climbed for decades. The divide felt exactly like the Rory Bryson era, a split where every opinion becomes a battlefield, and in that chaos, the sport feels fractured all over again. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered that other DP World Tour players were watching closely. If Canter's move pays off, he won't be the last. Golf Monthly hinted at this growing curiosity, a quiet undercurrent of players evaluating their own futures. And just when it looked like the storm might calm down, things escalated again. When Reuters confirmed that Lauri Canter was officially joining Majestic's GC for 2026, the reaction inside LI5 circles wasn't quiet pride. It was full-on satisfaction. This wasn't a random pickup or a filler signing. This was strategic. According to both Reuters and Complete Golfer, Majestic's GC had been eyeing Canter because of one trait they desperately needed: reliability. In 2023 and 2024, he built a reputation as one of the most consistent ball strikers in the rotation, the kind of player who stabilizes a team's entire backbone. And in a league where every point matters, stability is a weapon. Behind closed doors, Alaev has been rebuilding quietly for months. While the headlines focused on the drama, the teams focused on identity, constructing rosters that aren't just competitive but culturally tight. The Majestics, with their veteran core and outspoken personalities, needed someone who fit their DNA without shaking the room. Canter checked every box. And with LIV's 2026 season planning, expanded global stops, and a more polished format, signing a player who believes in the long-term vision matters more than ever. Because the future isn't built with noise, it's built with intentional moves like this. And make no mistake, LIV executives saw this as symbolic. A player who earned a PGA Tour card, the pinnacle of the old system, turned it down to return to Elver 5. That alone sent shockwaves through the sport. To LIV's leadership, this wasn't just a signing. It was validation that their structure, team culture, and identity were becoming a destination, not a fallback. It proved players weren't just joining for money, they were joining because they believed in the ecosystem. And symbolism like that hits harder than any bonus check ever could. Inside Majestic's GC, the move had an extra layer. Lee Westwood and Ian Poulter have long valued loyalty, chemistry, and grinders who play with a team-first mentality. They'd seen Canter up close. They knew his work ethic, his mindset, his ability to steady chaos. Bringing him back wasn't business. It was belief. And belief is what builds dynasties before anyone notices. But the ripple effect reaches much farther than Canter. Sources around the DP World Tour quietly admitted that more players are watching this move closely. If Canter thrives, others may decide LIV isn't a gamble. It's an opportunity they can't ignore. What looks like one man's career choice is actually a sign of where the sport is shifting.
Am I a victim of outdated rules? A rebellious disruptor? Or just totally clueless? Let's break down what really happened and why the golf world suddenly hates Wesley Bryan. It all started with a seemingly harmless YouTube event, The Duels, Miami, a casual, influencer-style match play game with a flashy name, tons of cameras, and a vibe that felt more like a Netflix reality show than a pro tournament. But under all that glitz was a deeper issue. This wasn't just any exhibition, it was LIV-backed. And that's where the trouble began. Wesley Bryan, a fan-favorite golfer turned content creator, showed up as one of the featured players in the match. Alongside other influencers and a few known LIV-affiliated names, Bryan teed it up under the South Florida sun with no idea that one swing would start a firestorm. On the surface, this looked like a fun side gig, just another content piece in the evolving golf entertainment space. But behind closed doors, the PGA Tour was watching closely, and they weren't amused. According to Reuters, the PGA Tour acted swiftly. Not only did they classify the event as unsanctioned, but they also viewed it as a direct breach of tour regulations, the kind that require permission to play in outside events, especially ones with ties to rival organizations like LIV Golf. The PGA's message was crystal clear. It doesn't matter if it's a tournament or a YouTube collab. If LIV is involved, it's a line you don't cross. Bryan, known for his laid-back personality and self-deprecating humor, didn't exactly hide it either. The event was well documented online, with drone shots, mic'd-up banter, and behind-the-scenes clips that made their way around golf Twitter faster than a Rory drive. Golf.com reported that the match was already getting traction online even before the PGA dropped the hammer. Once they did, boom, the golf world exploded. What made this sting even more was that Brian wasn't competing for prize money. He wasn't defecting, he was just there. But in today's tense PGA versus LIV landscape, even being associated is enough to get you benched. And in Wesley Bryan's case, that bench is now official. PGA Tour suspension confirmed. And this was only the beginning. The PGA Tour did not waste any time. Just days after the duels, Miami went live, and before the dust even settled on Twitter, the hammer came down. Wesley Bryan, who thought he was just having a good time with some fellow content creators, woke up to the cold reality of PGA bureaucracy. Suspension. Official. Immediate. According to Golf Digest, the tour ruled that Bryan had violated its strict guidelines regarding unsanctioned events. See, under normal circumstances, PGA players need written permission to play in anything that isn't a tour-sanctioned event. And that includes charity scrambles, money games, and apparently now, influencer-driven YouTube matches with live fingerprints on them. To make it worse, this wasn't some sneaky backdoor deal. The match was public, the cameras were rolling, live ties were known. And yet, Bryan showed up with a smile and a wedge, probably thinking this was no big deal, until it absolutely was. The response from the tour was swift, silent, and surgical. No press conference, no long-winded statements, just a cold letter and a clear message. Play in a LIV-affiliated event, even if it's on YouTube, and you're out. And just like that, Wesley Bryan's PGA playing privileges were pulled. Bryan himself, he took to X, formerly Twitter, with a message that perfectly captured his blend of sarcasm and disbelief. I've officially been suspended from the PGA Tour. Didn't plan on playing any PGA Tour events the rest of the year anyway. Might as well give y'all something to talk about today. NBC Sports confirmed the suspension, and by then the headlines were writing themselves. It wasn't just PGA suspends player, it was PGA suspends player for YouTube match, which, let's be honest, sounds more like an Onion headline than real life. But real it is. And with that one tweet, Bryan went from fringe tour guy to the newest face of the PGA versus LIV content war. The thing is, no one saw this coming, least of all him. And now the story was just getting started. The suspension was just a spark. The real fire came after, when golf fans, commentators, and even some fellow players started weighing in. Suddenly, Wesley Bryan wasn't just that tour guy who makes trick shots, or the fun content creator with a wedge and a GoPro. Now he was the guy who crossed the line. And depending on who you ask, he either broke a rule or broke loyalty. Let's be honest, we're in one of the most toxic, tense eras in golf politics. The PGA versus LIV war isn't just about where players tee it up. It's about brand image, moral high ground, and who's playing for legacy versus who's chasing bags. And whether Bryan meant to or not, stepping into a LIV-affiliated match, no matter how casual, looked like choosing sides. ESPN reported the reaction across social media, and it wasn't pretty. Some fans defended him, calling the suspension ridiculous. But others went straight for the throat. You don't get to eat at the PGA's table and then sneak off to LIV's backyard barbecue. You're either with us or you're with them. Playing influencer golf while pros grind it out week after week, that's weak. And while those comments might seem dramatic, they reflect a deeper frustration. PGA loyalists, players, and fans have watched their tour get raided by LIV. Every crossover moment is seen as a betrayal. Even if you're not officially signing a LIV contract, even showing up to a LIV-tied event feels like you're opening the door. Then there's the influencer angle. Traditionalists hate it. Trick shots, YouTube antics, mic'd-up tee boxes. It's golf, but not their golf. Bryan has always straddled that line between serious pro and online entertainer. This move just made that line collapse entirely. So here's the real question. Was this about a minor rule break or about protecting the brand war? Did Bryan get suspended for showing up or for showing who he's willing to stand next to? Either way, the hate came fast, and it hasn't cooled down since. If you know Wesley Bryan, you know he's not your typical tour pro. The moment news of his suspension broke, he didn't issue some polished PR statement or go silent. "Nope," he tweeted. "I've officially been suspended from the PGA Tour. Didn't plan on playing any PGA Tour events the rest of the year anyway." Delivered with a smirk, soaked in sarcasm, and sounding more like a YouTuber with a brand deal than a guy just handed a professional timeout. That tweet wasn't just a reaction, it was a vibe check. Bryan's never really fit the PGA Tour mold. He's a trick shot guy, a YouTube personality, a golfer who talks with fans like they're friends, not followers. Golf Digest has covered his transition in the past, from a solid tour player and RBC Heritage champ to a content-first creator following a rough patch of injuries and missed cuts. His game may have slowed, but his camera roll definitely didn't. And maybe that's why people can't decide how to feel about him. Is he disrespecting the game by cozying up to live-adjacent content creators? Or is he simply doing what every other athlete in 2025 is trying to do? Build a brand that lives outside the leaderboard? ESPN once called him the most approachable guy on the range.
Accusations designed to destroy his image completely. The first was a bombshell that Jack Nicklaus, a lifelong icon of the PGA Tour, had considered a $750 million offer to become the public face of the Saudi-funded LIV Golf League. According to Nicklaus's legal team, this claim was deliberately leaked to the media to portray him as a sellout, a man willing to trade his lifelong loyalty to the PGA Tour for Saudi money. The second accusation cut even deeper. Rumors began to spread that the 85-year-old legend was suffering from dementia and could no longer manage his own affairs. As Nicklaus's attorney Eugene Stearns told the court, what they were saying was, "You need to take the keys away from him." It was a calculated attempt to break him both professionally and personally, to strip away his voice and authority at the very moment he needed them most. But in the courtroom, the truth was finally unearthed. Through testimony and documents, Nicklaus's team dismantled the false narrative that Nicklaus companies had built. Yes, a meeting had taken place in 2021 with representatives from Golf Saudi, the organization behind LIV Golf.